Good evening, race fans, and sit back, relax, and welcome to coverage of the eNASCAR iRacing Road to Pro as we roll on live from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway. I'm Jacob Seelman alongside a packed house in the Podium Esports broadcast booth tonight as we get set to continue down the road towards a potential $300,000 prize pool. The road to $300,000, as our good friend Evan Pasoko says, actually starts right here for the drivers trying to make their way to the top level of sim racing. And tonight, 1.54 miles of a very weathered pavement going to test some of the best in the business. I'll be joined by a couple of voices out in the turns, as well as eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver Michael Guerrilla in the broadcast booth, helping to analyze a lot of what's going on. But before we get too far into this, we'll swing it around the racetrack and bring in two of the other voices that will help call the action tonight. First, heading over to turns 1 and 2, our good friend here at Podium Esports, Taylor Burris. Taylor?
Good to be here. Good to be back at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We know we've had some great races over the couple of months here with some of the replacement races, as well as other great races being held here. Looking forward to calling the action here at Turn 1. Going to be seeing what these drivers will have to face as the long green flag runs come into play with the tire wear. But we're going to take it a little bit further down the back straightaway and also talk to our second person up in the booth here with us today, and that is going to be Mr. Ryan Kent Jr.
These drivers are set for 140 laps around just more than 1.5 miles. I'll catch them down the back straightaway, and as they dive towards 3 and 4, Jacob talked about such a worn down surface here at Atlanta, Hot Atlanta, as many drivers will call it. A couple times, 2 times in fact, drivers will take a hard left-hand turn and make their way down pit road, but such high speeds and a good little bit of fall off, about 1.5 seconds of fall off throughout the course of the run. Looking for round number 4 today for the NASCAR Road to Pro here with Podium Esports, and as they make their way toward the start finish line, they'll be right into the eyes of Jacob Seelman.
And of course, this racetrack, one of the longtime cornerstones of NASCAR competition in real life, started out as Atlanta International Raceway and sits 20 miles south of Atlanta proper, and began hosting racing in 1960. There it is, 1.54 miles of pavement, 24 degrees of banking in either end of the racetrack in turns 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, 5 degrees of banking on the straightaways. And the lap record for NASCAR is certainly less than what we get for the overall track record. That was set by Billy Boat in 1998, back when IndyCar competition was still prevalent at what is now Atlanta Motor Speedway. One more voice we're going to hear from over the course of the night is, of course, that of Jim Beaver Esports, Michael Guerrilla, who has been with us for a couple of our Road to Pro broadcasts early on. Michael, you guys have tackled Atlanta's pavement in the Coke Series in the past, and I imagine it has been just as challenging for you guys as what these Road to Pro competitors are going to face over the course of 140 laps here tonight.
Yeah, tonight's race is for sure going to be a brawl amongst this truck field. We're going to have a field of over 32 trucks tonight in today's field, and it's going to be a really tight battle as the way these trucks are spread out throughout the run. It's going to be interesting to see what line is going to prevail, whether it be the line made famous by one Kevin Harvick, where you literally paint the white line around the corners of this track, or where you just give a nice little arc into the corners, get a nice run, save those tires. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Strategy will play a factor in, see who stays out, and we'll see how the race will turn out.
Yes, we will. Currently working through the final vestiges of qualifying for top split here on the Road to Pro. Right now, Jacob Hall fastest over Jake Matheson and Derek Bordeaux, as times right now from first back to 26th, separated by less than half a second. And Michael, that really, I think, says a lot about just how close the competition's going to be in this race in particular, because when you cover a half second through about, 90% of the field, it's going to make it difficult to pass, only because everybody's running pretty much the same speed. It's going to be about who can manage their tires and have enough left to make a charge at the end of a green flag run.
Exactly, Jacob. It's all about the way you want to separate yourself. It's all about how the setup's going to make you better. In these trucks, it's very difficult to separate out over a run because you have the draft, you have the element of your run is slower, so you're going to stay in a pack longer. So then it all comes down to how your setup is going to cooperate to the track how you wear out the tires and what lines you run and how you race other people. If you wear out those tires too much, you're going to fall to the back, or if you take care of them, you're going to go right to the front.
As we grid up, we'll go ahead and bring you tonight's starting lineup for the eNASCAR iRacing Road to Pro here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Gridded up following warm-ups, it is going to be the 17 of Jacob Hall on the pole alongside Jake Matheson. Inside of row number 2, Derek Bordeaux and Cody Bias. Carson Hocevar and Dylan Jones in row number 3. Ryan Kuhn, Caden Honeycutt making up the 4th row of the grid and completing the top 10, Daniel Roper and Patrick Mallett. Taylor Burris.
Starting in 11th, we Will Norton, followed by Steve Wilson in 12th position. Donovan Strauss, we are going to be seeing him starting from the 13th position alongside Seth DeMerchant. Then following in 15th will be Brandon Hoff, and Drew Preenars is in 16th. Derek Justice is in the 17th position, followed by Alan Bowes in 18th. 19th will be Garrett Maines, and Ryan Duchette rounds out your top 20, Ryan.
Dylan Rafferty and Brian Blackford make up 21st and 22nd. Daniel Williamson and Braden Boulos in 23rd and 24th. 25th sees the number 8 of Brad Mahar with Drayton Lapsevich rolling off 26th. Marcus Ruckman and Devin Curl in row in 27th and 28th. And in the 15th row, Nicholas Morse and Brandon McKissick.
And of course, rounding out the rest of your field, 31st goes to Blake McCandless. Jared Libier will be in 32nd, and Blake Neer rounds out your 33-car field.
And just an update for those watching on Podium Esports, a little bit of an issue from a visual standpoint. We'll work on getting that rectified and bring you a radio-style call to kick things off while we get a couple of technical difficulties ironed out on our end. So field right now is rolling off here on the front straightaway. 1 pace lap before we go green. Now, Michael Guerrilla, I know, we're looking at 2 stops. So do you play this? Do we see it split pretty evenly, or is there a little leeway to be able to, kind of time where you pit here for these 2 stops?
You can pretty much split it right at about the 45 lap mark. I'd be interested to see if they extend it to lap 50 or so. But if you want to go a little bit further, you can save your tires for the back half of the second run. If you want to stay a little bit longer, but you're going to lose a lot of track position trying to make it up when you stay out longer. So it'll be interesting to see how the short pit plays out compared to those who
We'll watch it all around this 1.54-mile quad oval as Jacob Hall and Jake Matheson get set to lead the field into turn number 3. And once again, we're working on the visuals. We're going to bring you radio style to start off tonight's top split from Atlanta Motor Speedway on the eNASCAR iRacing Road to Pro as the pace car gets ready to head towards pit road and leave the field in the hands of the 17 of Hall and the 25 of Matheson. Field works off of corner number 4 and out of the 24 degrees of banking. Pace car dives on to pit road. Jacob Hall brings the field up to speed. Green flag goes in the air at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We're underway. The 17 slots in. Top 3 goes single file. Taylor Burris, they head down into turn 1.
Single file for your top 3 right about now, as they're still going to be nose to tail. The next battle will have to be that battle between 4th and 5th for Cody Bias, who's going to be on the top around Ryan Kuhn, but Kuhn with the inside advantage as they come over to Ryan.
The leaders pick the top line into turns number 3 and 4. Then they point their noses to the bottom. They're single file through the first 5 spots now, but they go side by side back for the 6th spot as they're working to the stripe and complete lap number 1.
Jacob Hall with an early advantage as the field works through 1 and 2. This is going to be an interesting race, Michael Guerrilla. A game of who pushes their luck early or who settles in and waits for the end of the run to make something happen.
Yeah, if I'm one of these drivers in the field, I'm just going to sit back, let these first few laps play out, get settled in, get a feel for my truck, and see how we can change it for the first pit stop. But as of right now, you see the field strung out, single file, running that bottom line, protecting that bottom with how these trucks are. Out front, Jacob Hall is probably, if not close to full throttle, trying to make sure he keeps that car pinned to the bottom, get a nice little run off in the corner with a slight lift, just to try and point the nose if he gets a little tight. But now I got a battle for second here as Matheson's under pressure from Derek Bordeaux on his outside.
Well, that was a side-by-side battle. Ryan Kent headed for you. Carson Hocevar's in that mix as well.
It's a whole gaggle of cars as they work inside the top 5. Talked about that 18 of Hocevar. He's right there on the bottom as they come off of turn number 4, looking to grab that 3rd spot this time by the line. Still give 3rd to Bordeaux.
I gotta say, it's a hornet's nest back here over in turn 1 as the rest of the field is able to go through, but it's played between Derek Bordeaux and Jake Matheson as Matheson the inside coming over to you, Ryan, as they head into turn 3.
Back up on the top side goes Matheson. On the bottom side, Bordeaux, he's got Hocevar right behind him as they go side by side for the 3rd spot to Jacob Seelman.
Side by side for 3rd, Hocevar all the way down to the inside trying to make a run at it. And again, we talked about it, Guerrilla. This is a game of who wants to go early and who doesn't. Carson Hocevar not wanting to waste any time.
Yeah, and Hocevar surely is going for it. So is Matheson. As you see, those top 3 start to break away. All those Nexus Esports cars, the front 2 with Hall and Matheson out front. As you see, the first 5 or so are singled out, and then we have your next battle. Caden Honeycutt's leading that battle in 7th spot, ahead of a side-by-side battle with Roper.
Here comes Hocevar for the runner-up spot, side by side at the exit of the quad oval, down into turn number 1, battle for the runner-up spot.
Great battle indeed as Hocevar will slot in front of Jake Matheson down the back straightaway. They'll go. This leaves the door wide open. Derek Bordeaux as well as Dylan Jones as they go down the back straightaway over to Ryan.
Side by side off turn number 4, the battle for 3rd now raging on as Matheson falling back into the clutches of a crazy battle. They work into turns 1 and 2. It is now Matheson trying to just really stop the bleeding on the outside. And Michael, that's a case here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Much like we see a few of these other intermediate tracks, you get hung on that outside lane, it's difficult to find a way back in line.
Yeah, it was similar to the race at Richmond this past Tuesday for the Coca-Cola iRacing series that I participated in. It just seems like once you get off that bottom side, you just kind of hope you find a gap behind you, as you see Matheson trying to do right now as Dylan Jones goes on his inside for that 4th spot. But yeah, it's just a matter of trying to get down to that bottom, make sure you protect as much as you can.
A squeeze and a challenge for the race lead. That time off turn number 2, Ryan Kent. Carson Hocevar wants that top spot.
Hocevar in that 40 truck, that white and black machine, net less than a truck length behind the 17 of Jacob Hall. Drifts a little high off of 4.
Down to the stripe this time, already 9 laps in the record books. Carson Hocevar applying heavy pressure to the back bumper of the 17 of Jacob Hall. Derek Bordeaux rides in 3rd, Dylan Jones 4th. Jake Matheson has fallen from 2nd to 5th. Daniel Roper, Caden Honeycutt, Steven Wilson, Donovan Strauss, Cody Bias, the rest of the top 10. And this is early time to remind you that if your brand or business is interested in partnering with Podium Esports, we have space available for you. Podium Esports has a plan for every budget and can custom tailor solutions to suit your business or brand's needs best. For more information on the wide variety of partnership possibilities, send an email to admin, that's ADMIN, at podiumesports.com. Coming to complete 10 of 140 laps here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, it is now Carson Hocevar, who just took the lead with a nifty move, Taylor Burris, the last time around in front of you. And Hocevar has rocketed away now by about 3 car lengths, but that pass he made coming down into turn 1, very impressive.
Very impressive indeed right now as he's working the field, trying to keep that lead ahead of Jacob Hall, who is still air tracks of that number 18 as they're coming through turns 1 and 2. Off the turn 2, they'll go down the back straightaway. It is now going to be single file amongst the top 3, but Hocevar is poking and prodding, trying to find a way to take a peek to the inside.
Look like Daniel Roper able to get around Dylan Jones for the 4th spot. That's a change inside your top 5. And they work in complete lap number 11 this time.
Hocevar now with a narrow lead. Jacob Hall in 2nd, 3rd to Bordeaux, but Roper, Ryan Kent Jr. has been moving, and 3 and 4 has been the better part of the racetrack for him. Daniel Roper on the move and looking like he's going to have a front seat here for a 2-wide battle. No, he's inside for 3rd in front of you.
They go side by side, and he's able to just clear him as they hit the apex of turn number 3. Daniel Roper from 5th to 3rd in the matter of 2 laps, Jacob.
Yeah, no, it's been impressive to see what Daniel Roper's done, and I don't know if you're seeing anything, Ryan, as far as where the 14 is beating everybody right now, but he has been able to make a move, it seems like, every time on your end of the racetrack.
He's able to carry so much speed, especially getting into the corner. Michael talked about kind of how drivers play with the throttle and play with the brakes, and he's been able to just carry so much speed, just like Kosovar was whenever he made his pass for the lead down in turn number 1 and 2 a couple of laps ago.
This is such a rhythm track, Michael Guerrilla. I'm curious, as a driver, can you find a play, you know, whether it's the 1 and 2 end or the 3 and 4 end, do you as a driver find a place here at Atlanta where you can get comfortable and really make time like what we've seen Roper do here early?
Yeah, it really all comes down to how you want to approach the corner. As you see Roper is doing right here, he's having a nice straight line off in the corner. What he's doing is he's arcing pretty good off in the corner, and he's keeping it kind of narrow to the inside as he comes off the corner as well, keeping that momentum he has instead of trying to unwind the wheel and go straight off the corner. So what he's doing is he's just settling in, getting to a rhythm, and he's going to follow through right here as you see Jacob Hall go past Hosafar, and now Roper's not moving from the move in the inside.
That onboard view for Daniel Roper was a front row seat to the battle for the lead that was pretty much over in turns 1 and 2, but now Carson Hocevar getting clotheslined out of the top spot as he'll fall back potentially all the way to 5th by the time this is over. So it's now Jacob Hall back out front over Daniel Roper to 2nd, Bordeaux to 3rd, Hocevar falling back a little bit further, and the challenge is going to be on for 4th. Dylan Jones looking to the inside, trying to make some tracks as they work off turn 2 down the back straightaway. Ryan Kent, Dylan Jones, another one coming to the front.
Hocevar finally able to close the doors. He falls all the way back to 5th. Jones pinches him to the bottom as he points that number 21 down to the inside of turn number 3 and 4. They go single file through the top 7 now as they complete lap 16.
Back to the stripe this time, and again, more than 10% of this race already through, as here's an onboard look at the Carolina Simworks number 40 of Carson Hocevar, who now has 4 trucks in front of him, just like he started this race. He started in the 5th spot, rides in 5th down the back straightaway, and we're starting to see, Michael Guerrilla, some guys really search around for grip here early on, as we knew we would. The longer a green flag run went at Atlanta Motor Speedway, these, this weathered pavement eats up tires very, very quickly.
Indeed it does, and now you're going to see, this is the time where you're going to see all the comers and goers start to happen. As you see, Roper is starting to make his way through the field, and Hosafar showed his hands, but now he's falling back through the field. So this is really where you get the feel of your truck, what it's going to do for you over the long run, and this is where it counts the most, is because this is where you see the least amount of fall off, because you're already falling off over a second from the start of the lap times. So now you're into that settling of where you're going to fall in for the rest of the run as well.
Looking back off the race leader, now off the nose of Daniel Roper, who's moved up to 2nd from 9th and is zeroing in on the back bumper of the 17 of Jacob Hall in the race for the lead. On the back end of the racetrack, we'll have Ryan Kent Jr. pick it up here in a moment, but Daniel Roper has come through nicely as they work halfway down the back straightaway. Oh, I thought I saw almost 4 wide for a moment there in the camera shot, down to 3 and 4. That's not going to work here at Atlanta, and that's just a consequence, Michael, of drivers. You know, everybody's looking for a lane where their truck works, and 4 wide though, not going to work here.
Yeah, not gonna quite work there, but it's just one of those things where if you get that run off the corner, you might as well take it. And that was back where Will Norton is in that 11th spot, and that cluster has kind of separated itself with Drew Freenage now leading that spot just inside the top 10. But yeah, it's just a matter of if you get that run, do you want to take it? Is it too early to make that move? And for them it was, and now it's kind of settled out right around that 10th spot.
Battle for the race lead heating up as they head back to turn number 1. Daniel Roper finally with the look to the inside. It's taken him 21 laps. He has gone from 9th and he takes the race lead off the exit of turn number 2 and down the back straightaway. Move Daniel Roper, Ryan Kent to the race lead as they head for 3.
Hall continues to chase him, stalking that back bumper of the white machine. About a truck length now the lead for Daniel Roper as they complete lap 21.
21 laps in the record books, this time by going 140. We talked about 2 pit stops. We know that's going to be coming later on, but circle back through the field. One driver that's been impressive early on, the 19 of Derek Justice, started 17th, has advanced his way up to the number 12 position as we go on board with the Baskin-Robbins Toyota Tundra. Justice +5 from where he started. Looking at the back bumper, the 27 of Will Norton as they race for position off the exit of turn number 4. So Justice has done a solid job so far. And if you want to look a little bit further back behind that hornet's nest that you can see working through the quad oval is the 31 of Nick Morse, who has really done a nice job to fight his way forward from 29th. He's knocking on the door now of a top 20 running position down the back straightaway, and they are side by side, a couple in front of him. That's around the Ryan Doucette, Dylan Rafferty, Seth to Merchant Machines. Yikes. Ryan Doucette a couple weeks ago, Ryan Kent Jr., he picked up a win at Rockingham, and now he's in the middle of a hornet's nest in that 12.
Yeah, there is a whole lot of battling going on there from about spots 16 to 22 as those guys are separated by less than a second. That battle right there in the middle of the mid-pack is heating up, Jacob.
It is heating up now as, meanwhile, the leader, Daniel Roper, is already basically through the 3 and 4 end of the racetrack as we're coming back, closing in on 25 laps complete. It'll be 24 in the books across the line, and he has about 2 truck lengths over Jacob Hall, quickly shuffling as we now see Dylan Jones up to the 3 spot, Derek Bordeaux in 4th, and Caden Honeycutt now up to the top 5, the first time we've called his name among the front runners yet this evening. And when we talk about comers and goers, Michael Guerrilla, this is exactly what we mean. Guys who start up front and maybe fade back versus guys who did not start as close to the front, like a Daniel Roper or a Caden Honeycutt, Stephen Wilson, who have moved their way nicely to the front of this field.
Yeah, and the big part of it is just trying to take advantage of those who aren't coming, because basically you have them going towards the back of the field. I mean, with Roper, he just took advantage of everyone who was a little bit slower. Now he's basically the class of the field, a half-tenth quicker than Jacob Hall right there as he starts to extend his lead ahead of those two. And Dylan Jones is also working his way up there as well, matching the lap times of Daniel Roper. So it's basically just a matter of if your truck's going to come in. If it doesn't, you have to hold on to where you're at.
Yes, you do. And right now, Roper's done a tremendous job to hold on to where he's at across the line. 26 laps go in the record books this time. Still a long way to go in this race. However, if I'm Daniel Roper, I'm trying to settle in and at least save a little bit, Ryan Kent, though he still holds a comfortable 3 truck lengths over the 17 of Jacob Hall.
We talked a lot, especially in these kind of trucks, Jacob, to just find your rhythm and find a nice smooth operation. Talked about earlier, did Michael, about finding kind of your mojo, especially at a racetrack like this over the course of a long green flag run here early on as they complete lap number 27.
Some battles back in the pack around Derek Justice. We were just talking about him. He's now worked his way into the top 10 from 17th up to 10th, but he has got a trunk full of Will Norton, who has not wanted to let this go. Norton trying to look to the inside. No dice there, so the Baskin-Robbins Tundra holds serve right now in the top 10. Justice trying to close in on the 40 of Carson Hocevar. In the battle for 9th, he peeks to the inside. They're side by side off turn 4. They work back to turn number 1, Justice inside, and actually Ryan Kent gonna clear and maybe bring the 25 of Will Norton with him. Not quite, so Norton's gonna settle back in as Hocevar actually gets a run back to the outside there.
Norton a little patient. He's going to now poke his Toyota Tundra back to the inside of Hocevar as you ride on board right there with Justice, and he's going to be able to clear Hocevar this time by as they work their way to the stripe.
Of all the looks that we get, that look off the side, Michael Guerrilla, is probably one of the coolest and about one of the closest that we can get to seeing what it's like for you guys at pace out there on the racetrack. That's the one really neat thing about the iRacing service, is that we get to experiment and be able to have access to a lot of these angles that really show us what you guys are going through out on the racetrack that we can't always get the real life cameras to be able to work with.
Yeah, it's a lot different being inside the production crew side of everything when compared to just being in the stands. It's a whole new world once you're on the sim, just getting to see all these different angles like you mentioned earlier. It's amazing to see how many different angles you can find everything you're looking for. But one truck I'm looking at and it's just noticing he's really struggling is Hocevar in that 40 machine, the Carolina Simworks Chevy Silverado. He showed his hand early, went to that lead, and now he's just been dropping like a rock. He's about a half second off for lap time, and that's really bad considering how dominant he was at the start. And now he's just back in 13th, losing lap time.
Yeah, Hocevar has dropped anchor while guys like the 31 of Morse and a handful of others have really done a nice job to jump to the front. Jake Matheson, another driver who has fallen back in the 52 early on. Matheson started on the front row, has fallen back and is barely clinging to a top 10 spot. He's looking out ahead at the Cessna number 15 Toyota Tundra of Cody Bias. We go on board with Bias now, looking back at Matheson trying to apply the pressure, settles in, falls in line, and they go single file once again for the moment. The 5 of Steven Wilson, Ryan Kent just ahead of them, has charged from 12th up to 6th.
Yeah, Wilson's been on a strong run so far, knocking on the door of a top 5 as they continue to be on a long green flag run. Michael, exactly how much are these tires, how much are these trucks starting to change right now as they work on lap number 34 here?
Once you get past that lap 25 range, you're pretty much stuck with what you got. You pretty much aren't losing that much of a feel on the truck. You're going to stay pretty consistent on lap time, pretty consistent on feel from here on out to the end of the pits, unless you completely blow off your tires. But yeah, it's all about just being consistent now at this point. Everyone's kind of settled in their own little group. It's pretty much single file throughout the rest of the field, and it's just a matter of just trying to hold on to your stuff to the end of the run here and just kind of settle in.
They are settling in right now. We are across the 50-mile mark as we're on board with the 21 of Dylan Jones, who has ridden in the 3rd spot for the last little bit and kind of settled in behind Jacob Hall, who started from the pole. Daniel Roper is quickly closing and quickly trying to pull out a little bit more of a lead, but this battle for 2nd is not yet done, Ryan Kent. They are within a truck length of one another, are Hall and Jones, and I can't help but wonder if Jacob Hall's truck is finally starting to fall off just a little bit as Roper gets a little bit further out the front windshield and Dylan Jones gets a little bit closer to that rear tailgate.
Yeah, it's fun, and we watched a couple weeks ago at Homestead of seeing how guys, that they've started to figure out exactly how their truck's going to go. Maybe to some extent, it's going to come to them as runs go on. And like Michael talked about, now that you've kind of gotten a feel for exactly how much wear you're going to have, you can figure out how hard you can push here as they continue to work their trucks away.
There are a lot of guys pushing now. The 51 of Donovan Strauss among them, and this some decent battling pretty far back in the pack. Hocevar has fallen off in a big way. Strauss in 50th, trying to work to the inside of Hocevar. That's a battle for the 14th position. Behind them, the 31 of Nick Morse and the Patrick Mallet entry going side by side for position. We ride on board with the high-performance driver Nick Morse, who started 29th. Michael Guerrilla, and has driven his way up to 16th and may have a shot at least one, if not a couple more spots, because he's got a front row seat to that battle between Hocevar and Strauss.
Indeed he does, and that HPM 31 truck has really got it working right now over the long run. As you see right ahead, Strauss is going to take that spot on Hocevar. Now it's leave the door open for Morse, who might actually be able to take both of them. There goes Hocevar bomb by, and Morse is peeking the nose on the inside of Strauss as they head down to turn 3. Let's see if Strauss will keep that pinned up top and see if Morse can get a run on here. Morse is going to send it down the bottom, paint that white line, and easily drive right by Strauss on the exit of turn 4.
What a drive by the 31 of Nick Morse right now. We look on board out the front of the 30 of Brandon Hauff, who has done a solid job to sit in the top 20, but he's had a pretty good seat to all the battling going on in front of him over the last couple of laps. But Ryan Kent, Nick Morse is absolutely bulldozed. Well, I don't want to say bulldozed because it's like, I say that and it implies he's run into people on his way through. He's cut through the field like a hot knife through butter. That might be a better analogy. He's up 15 spots in the first 40 laps of this race.
Yeah, 40 of 140 through this race so far, and that's kind of the fun thing about this is we've seen guys like Hocevar who started 5th, got to the lead, and has fallen back, and then you've seen other guys like Morse who've just been able to charge forward. Seems like a lot of these guys have started to find their groove and figure out exactly how their truck's working for him as they close in on the first set of pit stops coming up here shortly.
You know, we talked about it off the top, Michael Guerrilla, but, you know, we're closing in, I think, on that window for the first round of stops. When would you expect to see, particularly the front runners, try to make that first stop here?
Honestly, if I'm the top 3, I have a big enough gap over the rest of the field right now to where I could honestly stretch these tires just a little bit longer if I still feel comfortable. If I'm a Derek Justice who's now up into 6th, or a Will Norton in 8th, I'd honestly just try to short pit here, get a little bit of ground on the rest of the field and see how it plays out. But if I'm that top 5 right now, I just settle on in for a few more laps and wait to see who makes the first.
It's all about not tipping your hand too soon as we look out the back of Derek Justice. We've pulled that shot up a few times already in this broadcast, but that's because it seems like, Ryan Kent, all the action has been going around that 19 of Justice, and for good reason. He started 17th and has now driven his way into the top 5.
Yeah, Justice, and he's starting to close in on the 4th spot as he's right on the tailgate of Honeycutt, this time into 3 and 4 within a truck length here on lap number 42. They come to the stripe.
That is 42 laps in the books. Roper, Jones, Hall, Caden Honeycutt up to 4th, and Derek Justice now inside the top 5. Steven Wilson, Jake Matheson, Will Norton, Andrew Freenage, and Derek Bordeaux, the rest of the top 10 closing in on, well, not quite halfway. We've still got a decent chunk of laps before we get to there, but 45 to 50 seems to be the general consensus on when we may see a lot of guys down pit road if you're splitting this race into thirds, which is kind of what we're anticipating. Here's the look off the rear deck lid of the race leader, Daniel Roper, who suddenly has a new challenger in 2nd place. Ryan Kent. Dylan Jones has made the pass on Jacob Hall about 2 laps ago. He rides 2nd, dropping Hall back to 3rd, and that 21 truck looks pretty stout late in the run.
There's been 2 passes inside the top 5. Jones around Hall for 2nd, also Justice around Honeycutt, as a couple movers go from 3rd and 5th respectively up to 2nd and 4th. Talked about Dylan Jones. He closes within about 2 truck lengths this time into turn number 1 and 2. About a truck length at the apex of the first corner, trying to chase down Daniel Roper, your race leader, working on lap number 45. Maybe trying to take a gamble here before that first round of pit stops as Roper still leads the way, arcs his truck to the top, now the bottom of turns number 3 and 4. A truck length the lead for Daniel Roper as he completes lap 45.
45 laps in the books, and this would be about the time, Michael Guerrilla, that we start to expect some guys dropping down pit road. Although right now I don't want to take my eyes off the leaders here, because it is 3 trucks under a blanket going for the top spot. But for guys like a Caden Honeycutt or Steven Wilson, who have fallen back a little bit, you got to think they may be getting close to it. And actually, we've seen a couple. Brian Blackford among the first to actually take the dive down pit road.
Yeah, we have a huge bunch of cars on pit road right now, but with Alan Bowes and the Total Advantage Motorsports car, and then Patrick Millay, Derek Bordeaux. On the cautions out, spinner off turn. Looks like it's a 31 of Nicholas Morse is caught up in it, as well as the 57 of Seth the Merchant.
Oh my, one in the wall, and that is the 31 of Nick Morse. Heavy damage, and that is a heartbreaker after his strong run to start this race. So a caution flag at the end of lap 46. We get a look at the replay on board with Morse. Oh, and he had some help. DeMerchant got into the back of him, sent them both spinning around, and there's one more that plowed in. Was that the 6, it looks like, of Ryan Kuhn, also caught up in this? I know a couple cars definitely avoiding, but my, that's the last thing, Ryan Kent, that we wanted to see for the 31 of Morse. He had such a strong run going to start this race, and now it's all for naught.
From starting at the back of the pack in 29th, Jacob, and working his way up to 16th, and you'd have thought that he had a truck that probably could have contended for at least a top 10, if not a top 5 today, and unfortunately he's going to find himself with a whole plume of smoke out of the back of that Chevy Silverado.
Taylor Burris, we look at that incident was a lot of guys who were running towards the front of the field, and now as we get set to come down for pit stops, their night's over just like that.
Yeah, unfortunate for these drivers such as Nick Morse. I mean, it was having a great run. Same thing with one of our championship contenders, Seth DeMerchant, who's running inside the top 5 in the point standing. This is something he cannot have happen in order to remain inside that top 20 towards the end of it. But for the rest of the drivers, they're making their way down pit road currently. As we look to the field, everyone has hit their box, and now it is going to be a race off pit road to see who will get that spot. As waiting to see for the rest of the field, still no one has been released from their pit box, as it looks like now the number 19 of Derek Justice has been released from his box, but it looks like it'll be too little too late, as the winner off of pit road will be that number 14 of Daniel Roper.
What a stop, Guerrilla, by the Derek Justice camp. He jumps from 4th to 2nd off pit road, and after starting 17th, I'm a believer in the Baskin-Robbins camp that Justice may have something for the second half of this race.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he, and now that he's out front, what he can do with it. Is at the end of the run there, he was trading times with Dylan Jones for the fastest truck on track there those last few laps. So it'll be interesting to see how Justice can handle it now being out front, as he did work his way up from 17th now into the lead up for this restart. Little side note, I just want to mention that we have a few trucks that we mentioned coming to pit road under green flag. They're now going to be trapped a lap down, where we have Alan Bowes, Patrick Millay, Brian Blackford, that group. Now they have to take the wave around just to get back on lap, and they'll be disadvantaged for the rest of the race.
I think Blake McCandless may have been another one that also came down pit road under green and is having to take the wave around. And unfortunately, Michael, that's just the risk you take with pitting towards the, being an early one on a green flag pit cycle to make a stop. That, that's the potential disaster that can strike, is have a caution come out and pin you there.
Yeah, funnily enough, it happened to me last year at the Coca-Cola Series race at Atlanta. I was coming down pit road. It was the last stop of the day, and then 2 laps later, after I came out of pit road, caution came out. So yeah, I've been there before. I understand what they're going through now, but to be fair, they only have a lap on their tires and they're green, if that. So they'll have a chance to get back up to the field. Hopefully they'll catch a caution, get back to it. But yeah, they're just at a little bit of a hole right now for the rest of the race.
As we sit under this caution flag, we remind you that Podium Esports is the home of the Cars Esport Tour, the official esports competition of the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour, and the only short track series in iRacing to be sanctioned by a real-life sanctioning body. The Cars Esport Tour features fixed setup late model stock racing and open setup super late model racing at some of the most prestigious short tracks in the Southeast. Registration is open today. For more information, you can visit podiumesports.com/cars-esport-tour. 50 laps going on the board this time across the stripe will reset the top 10 for you. Daniel Roper leads it over Derek Justice after pit stops, with Jacob Hall third and Jake Matheson suddenly, with some of the players out of the mix up front, has jumped back up to 4th. Ryan Doucette, I feel we were just talking about him being mired in the field not that long ago. He's jumped all the way up to 5th. Andrew Freenage rides 6th. Caden Honeycutt is back to 7th. Cody Bias, Dylan Jones, and Will Norton complete the top 10 down the back straightaway, as we sit back, relax, and settle in a little bit. We're hoping for another long green flag run, but that first caution really coming out at a good time for the leaders, just before when we expected all of them down pit road. But it's Roper and Justice getting set to lead the field back to green. They head 2 by 2 into turns number 3 and 4, as the pace car going to get ready to dive back to the safety of pit lane, and Daniel Roper hoping to reestablish things out in front over Justice, Hall, Matheson, and the rest of the field. Off turn number 4 they come. The iRacing pace car heads back down pit road. Green flag in the air. Daniel Roper on the jump, and Derek Justice slots in right behind in the 2 spot. Side by side for third between Matheson and Hall. That's going to be the battle down to turn number 1, and we are going to give you some sights and sounds here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And we come back just in time for a crash in the back off the exit of turn number 2. Michael Guerrilli, it looked like Brad Mahar and a couple of others in the mix back there around 20th place. But Mahar, it looks like Blake Neer, and Jarrett Liebert as well involved in this. So a couple of trucks back there in the mid-pack involved in a crash off turn 2 to put us under caution with 54 complete.
Yeah, it looks as though just coming off turn 2, as you look at the replay, looks as though Liebert just hit the apron there just a little bit on the exit, got him a little loose, and got a little bit of a tap there from Donovan Strauss, sending him sideways and into Brad Mahar. Let's see who else got collected there. Looks like it was just those 2. But yeah, just it got a little unlucky there, got a little tap off the corner and just had nowhere to go for Donovan Strauss, and he accidentally ran him over.
And the nose into the outside wall at the end of that for Brad Mahar. Going to be some damage that will likely force him down pit road. The biggest change while we were cranked up there on that restart was, we talked about it, that Derek Justice had a fast truck, and Michael Guerrilli, he has now taken that truck all the way to the point after starting 17th in a pretty impressive run for the 19.
Yes, and an interesting strategy move from him right here. I know he only ran 2 laps, but he stayed out here. So he's one of the very few that stayed out. Along with him is going to be Daniel Roper, Drew Freenage, Ryan Doucette, and Dylan Rafferty. So only 5 trucks stay out here on this caution as the rest of the field comes off the pit lane right now with Dylan Jones leading them off. So I know we only did 2 laps, but the 2 laps could mean a little bit at the end of the run here. We'll see how it plays out at the end here. But yeah, Justice is still holding on to that point there as he took it away from Roper off the restart there. So now we get to see what he can do out front.
So again, back under caution quickly for here at lap number 56. It'll be 56 complete when we get back to the line. So by my not so great all the time math skills, that leaves us with about 84 laps left to run when they cross the start finish line. So not even halfway complete in tonight's Road to Pro event here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Top split action on Podium Esports. If you're just joining us, we're glad you're joining us. Jacob Seelman and Michael Guerrilli in the booth with assistance from both Taylor Burris and Ryan Kent Jr. as we roll through the course of the night. And continuing on, Taylor Burris, that crash did not necessarily take out some contenders, but through all the strategy splits and everything that's been going on, we are seeing a whole bunch of different players up inside the top 10 now that did not start there. And I think it's particularly notable that 4 of the top 5 started outside the top 15.
Indeed, as we know, Derek Justice, currently race leader, has started 17th, and then the one who started the furthest back, Ryan Doucette and Dylan Rafferty, both started in 20th and 21st, so they have definitely made their climb up through the field, of course, with the help of the pit stop strategy of not coming down pit road this time by, is also a big help for them as well. But we're going to have to see, even though they only have a couple laps on their tires, it can also prove to be a little bit of a difference maybe towards the long run of this stage as they work their way through. So have to keep an eye, see what they do as we are getting ready to turn them loose here once again.
Think it may be about another lap before we go back under green. I'm still seeing lights on the pace car, so looking like maybe they'll double them up this time by the stripe. Derek Justice, Daniel Roper, Andrew Freenage, Ryan Doucette, Dylan Rafferty, the top 5. Then it's Dylan Jones, Jacob Hall, Jake Matheson, Cody Bias, and Caden Honeycutt through the rest of the top 10. And one thing that we should note that we didn't really have a chance to do during the pre-race is that if you're looking for the points leader, Jordy Lopez, who won 2 of the first 3 races to open the season, he is not in the field and will not be for this race and the next race, serving an iRacing suspension for actions detrimental to sim racing is the understanding that has come down over the last couple of weeks. So a tough blow there for Jordy Lopez, who again will miss this race and the next race before he is eligible to return. So the Roval event in a couple of weeks, we believe we will not see Jordy Lopez either. But right now the field is doubled up. Derek Justice, Daniel Roper on the front row, Andrew Freenage, Ryan Doucette in row number 2 as we get set to come back to the green flag with what will be 58 laps complete. And Derek Justice leading the field down to the stripe. Green flag back in the air. And Michael Guerrilla, that's the biggest jump we've seen by anybody not named Daniel Roper so far. Justice was on the hammer and has 4 truck lengths down through 1 and 2.
Yeah, Justice wasting no time getting out to the point ahead of Daniel Roper, and looks as though Roper's going to get a little push here from Freenage down the backstretch. See if they can recoup any of their lost ground coming off into turn 3. Looks as though they'll maintain there. But yeah, single filing out now through the top 7 or so. Your first side-by-side battle is Dylan Jones in that 8th spot alongside the 10 machine of Caden.
Yeah, Honeycutt's a driver who is trying to work his way back forward and had a rocket restart from 9th to 7th. However, now they've pinned him on the outside lane, although he's trying to use it to his advantage. Guerrilla up on the outside, keeping the momentum up and maybe with a run to get by Matheson.
Using that draft from Dylan Rafferty ahead of him. Let's see if he makes the move down in here in turn 3. Tries to pitch the 52 machine to the inside right there. Just a nice little bit, leaving a good little bit of room on the exit. But the 10 is starting to pull away just a little bit and clears him. He's going to clear him off into turn 1 here. So Caden Honeycutt now up in that 6th spot, looking to the back bumper of Dylan.
I am impressed with that move by Honeycutt. That was a power move to the outside, and really, it's the first time I feel like we've seen the outside work in this race. Honeycutt back up to the 6th spot, while 2 trucks have broken away up front, being Justice and Roper in the battle for the race lead. They are trailed by Andrew Freenage, who sits fairly lonely in 3rd, but it's a battle for the lead across the stripe. Roper has had enough of sitting in the runner-up spot. He wants the lead back and gets it in 1 and 2.
Yeah, Justice right there just said, here, you're quicker than me, you can have it for right now. And he's going to sit in line, trying to figure out what he can do to keep up with Roper here. But Roper's just really strong here. As we look further in the back, it looks like they're almost 3 wide, and they're really in a bundle right there further back in the field, right around that 15 machine of Cody Bias and Carson Hosevar in the number 40 machine. But yeah, Derek Justice looks like he's just going to sit back behind Roper and see if he can ride it out.
Caden Honeycutt up to 5th, and Ryan Doucette had a trunk full of the 10 that time by into the corner. Honeycutt once more, he looks like he has stepped on the gas and is trying to join this battle for the lead that has broken away. Roper, Justice, and Freenage trying to get away from the rest of this snarling hornet's nest. Taylor Burris, and I think we're seeing the intensity start to jack up just a little bit here.
Just a little bit as we are approaching that halfway point here in a moment's time, but a lot of great battles. I'm looking towards the back half of the field around 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Garrett Maines, Dylan Rafferty have been going side by side for probably a good portion, about 6 laps or so, as Garrett Maines was able to finally complete the race pass over Dylan Rafferty to move into 7th position and now go single file behind Jake Matheson. But it feels like that outside lane starting to work a little bit for some of these drivers.
I'm intrigued in that, Michael Guerrilla, because we look at this and we usually say on the bottom's the way to go here at these intermediate tracks, and particularly Atlanta, but that outside lane finally coming in and some of these trucks using it to their advantage here. We see, I think that's the 21 of Dylan Jones trying to make some tracks on the outside, but we've seen it work for several drivers here as they're trying to go 3 wide.
Yeah, Jones has been on the backslide right there. But yeah, as you go off in the corner, you can pretty much pinch that car down to the inside of the apron, make sure he gets them on the white line, maybe even messes up a little bit. But if you can pinch that inside car low enough, you can make them go a little bit slower in the corner, make sure you get a run there. And it's very advantageous to be on top of the high side there entering the corner so that we can arc it in the corner. But right behind Dylan Jones at 21, there was a little bit of contact right there between the 5 of Stephen Wilson and the 15 of Cody Bias. They had a little scrum there, but they're still side by side for that 13th spot.
Oh, there's the lookout at Bias, who's trying to make some tracks on the bottom of the racetrack and push his way back forward, slides up right across the nose of, I think that might have actually been Wilson that he slid up across in front of, either Wilson or the Donovan Strauss machine, but either way, a very dangerous move, and it was the 5 of Stephen Wilson that Bias slid up in front of, and now he's trying to play defense. It is a nasty pack of trucks back there.
Yeah, Rafferty is holding on. Oh, a little bit of contact there from Strauss entering turn 3 on Dylan Rafferty. Strauss just went in there a little too deep and gave him a little shot there in the corner. That left the door open on the outside for Steven Wilson to come on by for the 14th spot there. So now move Steven Wilson up there. And Dylan Rafferty, after starting up front on the restart, and he stayed out in that last caution. So maybe those tires are starting to have a little effect here as he's starting to fall back to the...
Meanwhile, the driver on the march is Caden Honeycutt, has worked his way from 9th on the restart up to 4th and is faster than the leaders as it sits. 1.4 seconds, however, is the margin that he has got to make up, and he is inching away at it, Taylor Burris. It's not coming easy, but over the long haul, that 10 truck appears to be as good as anybody.
Yeah, gets a great run off of turn number 2 as they work their way down the back straightaway, and is slowly but surely closing into that third place driver of Drew Freenage as they head down into turn 3. Just hugs that white line as best they can to get that good run off a corner exit. But looking at the lap times, he is running very consistently faster right now than compared to the top 3. So I say in a few short moments, we could see him work his way and battling for third position.
We are seeing racing all over the banking right now. The onboard look a moment ago from Ryan Doucette, 20th to 7th, and he's been higher than that, Ryan Kent, but he is going to get a shot in the shorts from Jacob Hall, who looks to the inside, battle for 7th in turn 3.
It's a good side-by-side battle for that 7th spot between Hall and Doucette. They work side-by-side of the stripe, Jacob Seelman, as they complete lap 70.
That is right at the halfway point, and we'll take advantage of that to bring you the iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's leading online racing simulation. Developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service, iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. iRacing is home to a wide variety of officially sanctioned series, with racing from the Australian Supercars, IndyCar, IMSA, NASCAR, the World of Outlaws, and more. This iRacing full field rundown sees Daniel Roper out in front over Derek Justice and Andrew Freenage, but fast closing in the 4th spot is Caden Honeycutt. Jake Matheson to 5th, Carson Hocevar rides 6th, Jacob Hall 7th, Cody Bias in 8th, Ryan Doucette and Steven Wilson round out the top 10, Taylor Burris.
In 11th position is Garrett Maines, followed by Dylan C. Jones in the 12th position, with Donovan Strauss in 13th. Trayton Lapsevich is sitting in 14th, and followed by Derek Bardot in 15th. Dylan Rafferty currently sits in 16th, with Alan Bose 17th. Brian Blackford 18th. Patrick Millay in 19th. Rounding out your top 20 is Braden Boulos, Michael Gariglia.
And 21st is Will Norton in the number 27 machine, followed by Marcus Ruckman in 22nd. Blake Neer sitting in 23rd with Daniel E. Williamson behind him in 24th. Devin Curl 25th. Blake McCandless 26th. Brad Bahara, who had caught up in that earlier wreck, is now in 27th after fixing some damage. Brandon McKissick in 28th. Jarrett Labert, Brandon Hoff around at the top 30. As we have a caution on the speedway, as Trayton Lapsevich got turned there in turn 3.
Trayton Lapsevich around and bringing the yellow flag out with 68 laps to go, coming to 67 to go. Tough break. We'll get a look at the replay for the young Canadian, just 16 years old, and we're going to get the look at it as they right here working down the back straightaway. So we'll see everything leading up to this. Here comes Lapsevich down into the corner, and there it is, the bump from the 13 behind him. I guess that was Derek Bordeaux that got into the 32 of Lapsevich and sent him for a bit of a ride, and both of them have now fallen back. So Lapsevich able to keep going, but had worked his way into the top 15, Taylor Burris, and now loses a lot of track position. But right after halfway, big thing here is it's feeding time at the zoo. All the leaders on pit road.
Everybody's coming down to get fresh rubber and fuel for their race cars. As we see, Derek Justice, along with the rest of the top 3, have made it into the pit box now as the field goes around to go on their cars, trying to get that needed adjustment, fresh tires, and fuel to continue racing here. Who will win the race off pit road? Still, as they go around to the other side of the race car, still waiting to release the first one off of pit road. It's going to be Derek Justice who's going to be released, but it's not going to be anything. Daniel Roper will win that race off of pit road, followed by Derek Justice, Caden Honeycutt, Jake Matheson, Drew Freenage, your top 5.
That's going to be big, Michael Gariglia, for Caden Honeycutt on the next restart. Getting a chance to restart third on the inside lane. I see him rocketing right into this mix for the battle for the lead when we go back green.
Yeah, I was watching his lap times there on the laps that we had run under that last restart, and looks as though that Caden's got the pace, at least on the short run. He was able to manage to match or beat the times of the trucks ahead of him with Roper and Justice. So now he's in the same spot that Justice was in, where now he's got the chance to show his hand with as we complete lap 75 here on the restart.
So 75 laps complete of 140, 65 laps remain to be run when they get back to the stripe, and we'll reset the order after pit stops here in just a moment. Once they flash across start finish, it's going to be Daniel Roper holding the lead over Derek Justice. Caden Honeycutt now runs up to the third spot with Jake Matheson in fourth, Andrew Freenage in fifth, Carson Hocevar, Cody Bias, Stephen Wilson, Jacob Hall, Ryan Doucette, the rest of the top 10, and it is still Derek Justice who has been the guy that has marched through this field. 17th to 2nd is our biggest mover early on, and really after everything's said and done, it's just Justice, Freenage, who started 16th and sits in the top 5, and Ryan Doucette, who came from 20th and now rides 10th, that have been the ones that started deep, that have hung on. Ryan Kent, everybody else that we saw flash up there for a brief period of time has fallen by the wayside, either via accidents or just by not being able to hang on over these longer runs.
It seems like every driver throughout the field, you could flip a coin tonight. Have they gone forward or have they gone drastically backward? And there's been a lot of cases, both at the front of the pack and at the back of the pack, of guys that have been able to have really good trucks and settle in for good long runs, like Drew Freenage and Derek Justice. And then there's even drivers like Jacob Hall, who started on the pole and now runs 9th, or Dylan Jones, who started 6th and now is back to 14th. And then there's Bordeaux, who you saw has had some issues and is now back in 26th after his third starting spot. So there's been a lot of movers, both forwards and backwards today, Jacob.
There have been a lot of movers and shakers as we double the field up with what will be 77 laps complete going forward, and it is going to be Roper and Justice on the front row when we go back to green. And Ryan Kent, when I look at this, I say to myself, this is where we're going to start to see people really show their hands, I think, because we're getting into the second half now. We've had a couple of pit stops, and it's game on.
Yeah, it is absolutely 100% go time, Jacob. If you're in a spot of, you know, a Freenage or a Bias, you really have really nothing to lose. Nothing to lose from no matter where you're at really on the racetrack. But maybe some guys who have kind of made subtle runs, maybe like a Donovan Strauss or a Garrett Maines, who have just gained a couple of spots, maybe able to work their way up a little bit, and Alan Bowes, who've gained 4, 5, 6 spots as they try to work themselves into a top 10, top 5 spot as Roper and Justice slowly pace the field through turns 3 and 4.
And we should be coming back to green with 63 laps to go in this 140-lap event here at Atlanta. Pace car dives for pit road and leaves the field in the hands of Daniel Roper, who gets right on the gas, and Caden Honeycutt comes right with him. He is already a half truck length to the inside of Derek Justice. The battle for second, just like we thought it would, down into turn 1, and Taylor Burris, if I'm Caden Honeycutt, that was exactly the restart I needed, and now we're going to get a chance to see what he can do against the race leader.
He's going to try everything that he can to go down the back straightaway into turn 3 and 4. Was able to easily clear Derek Justice and sets his sights on the race leader. It's now separated by about half a car length between the two drivers as they come off a turn down the front straightaway, Jacob.
Across the stripe, 78 laps go in the books. Honeycutt within a truck length of the race leader, Daniel Roper. Jake Matheson, though, Michael Guerrilla on the comeback trail. He's up to third place after falling back as far as the fringes of the top 10 earlier on.
Yeah, Matheson making a strong comeback as now he's setting the sights on the back bumper of that 10 machine of Caden Honeycutt. Still all following the number 1 leader right now, Daniel Roper, in the number 14 machine, as he still holds on to the top spot. Interested to see how Justice holds on to this restart as he's now slid himself back into 4th. We saw him a little bit slower than the leaders at the start of the last run, but we'll see if he's still going to manage to hold onto that 4th spot and then settle in and set that car up.
Ryan Kent, they work off turn number 2 and down the back straightaway, and Caden Honeycutt is starting to apply the pressure. You said it was go time, and he is trying to prove that, although 1 and 2 seems to be the better end of the racetrack for the number 10. Roper really pulls him through 3 and 4.
Yeah, Roper was able to pull out about a truck length or so the gap, and The lead overall gains by about a tenth of a second as they dive their way towards turn number 1 and 2. Honeycutt sets in that second spot. He's got about 3 truck lengths ahead of him in space and 3 behind him, so he's pretty much all out by himself right now as he tries to chase down your leader. But Daniel Roper has started to turn up the heat in the kitchen a little bit as they complete lap number 81 this time.
Yeah, still a long way to go. 60 laps remain. It'll be 59 to go when they cross the stripe. And the battle is on between Freenage and Cody Bias. Where did Bias come from all of a sudden, Taylor Burris? We were talking about him well outside the top 10 for most of the first half. Now here he is up in 6th, challenging for a spot in the top 5.
He is all over the back bumper of Drew Freenage as he looks to the inside as they go into 3 but can't quite get to the inside just yet. Just gets right up on the back bumper of that number 9 Drew Freenage as they come off of turn 4 down the front straightaway. Can't quite make that move, but has to back off. But still keep an eye on Carson Hocevar, who's right there in his tire tracks as they go down into turn number 1.
I feel like Hocevar's been in or around Michael Guerrilla just about everything that we've called that's been, some sort of chaos or, trouble over the course of this night, and yet he is still hovering back there in the back half of the top 10, doing what he needs to do in that number 40 as he nearly washes up into the Cody Bias machine.
Yeah, he was really tight to the quarter panel there, the number 15 machine on his outside. But yeah, Hocevar has been up and down from the front to the mid-20s. He's been all up and down our leaderboard tonight in that number 40 machine for Carolina Simworks. But yeah, just eventful night for Hocevar. Only advantage here on this run is now that the runs are split a little bit shorter as we had about 70 to go when the restart happened. So looking at about 35 lap runs here to the end here. So see how if that short run compared to our opening run will have an advantage for him.
Side-by-side battle for third, exiting turn number 4. Derek Justice, Jake Matheson going at it in the 19. To the inside, give the advantage to Derek Justice as the 52 of Matheson settles in, slides across the nose of Andrew Freenage in the 9, and Freenage, I think, maybe cut him a break there, Ryan Kent, because that was a hole that I'm not sure a full truck probably should have fit in.
Yeah, Ayrton Senna might not be able to hold up his quote right there of having a hole in racing and going for it, but Freenage maybe just cutting him a little bit of rope right there and giving him a little bit of extra life as Justice is able to pull away to third, and that puts Matheson now right in front of the front bumper of Drew Freenage, and that 5th, 6th, 7th spot there all nose to tail just about super glued together as they come off turn number 2 and down the back straightaway. Freenage now pokes his nose to the inside of Bias, can't get it done, and they continue to work themselves out through the top 5 and 6.
Matheson, I was impressed with the run he got down the back straightaway to hold Freenage at bay. Bias was looking down to the inside as well, and now some side-by-side behind them. Everybody shuffling and scrambling a little bit right now. Jacob Hall and Dylan Jones going at it, entering turn number 1. That's a battle for the 11th position advantage. Jones as they work off turn 2, Taylor Burris.
He is able to complete the pass, just barely trying to clear him as they go down the back straightaway. Jacob Hall, your pole sitter from the race now, is just struggling as he is stuck on the top side of the racetrack, as now another driver, Alan Bose, will go to the inside of Jacob Hall, move him up to P12 as we see now Garrett Maines is also going to try and follow suit as he will now in the front straight, getting a big push from the 25 of Brian Blackford as they go down into turn number 1, but it looks like our pole sitter of Jacob Hall is struggling big time right now as they come off of turn number 2.
Here comes the Garrett Maines machine working off turn number 2 as they're side-by-side for position with the 25 of Brian Blackford making appearance in this battle inside the top 15. Working through the corner in 3 and 4. Blackford's there all over the back bumper of Maines. Blackford trying to move forward, and he almost laid the bumper to the 3 in turns 3 and 4. That is about as tight as it gets, Michael Guerrilla.
Yeah, Blackford's laying the heat now to Garrett Maines here for the 13th spot. A former Coke Series driver, Blackford knows what it takes to get done here in these types of situations, but he's trying to take advantage of Garrett Maines as best he can while trying to hold off the 25 machine right behind him of Will Norton, who's slotted himself up past Jacob Hall as Hall continues to slide back towards the back. But yeah, interesting battle here a little bit further in the
Meanwhile, what was a pretty extended battle for the lead, Daniel Roper was the jackrabbit, and Caden Honeycutt playing the role of the tortoise, at least starting out. The top three have compressed once again, and what was a 5-truck length advantage has evaporated for the 14 of Daniel Roper. He leads it. Honeycutt is there in 3 and 4. Honeycutt looking a half groove higher, trying to find some momentum. Taylor Burris, here comes the crossover. Can he get there in turn 1?
He's going to try the crossover move as they go into turn. Can't quite make it work as Roper was able to shut the door and still just trying to throw the block as they come out of turn number 2. Honeycutt, though, just right on the back bumper of Daniel Roper down the back straightaway. He's still taking a peek to the inside and still can't quite make it work. Meanwhile, Derek Justice looking on about a truck length back from the top 2 as he is working his way through turns 3 and 4. But the top 3 has once again checked out from the rest of the field. About almost a second and a half just about separates the top 3, actually making a second between the top 3 and 4th place of Jake Matheson as they go back into turn 1. Roper, though, loses the race lead to Caden Honeycutt, and he is now under immense pressure from Derek Justice.
Battle for the race lead off turn number 2. Honeycutt took it to the inside. Roper wants it back. He looks to the inside. Justice is there with him. 3 trucks under a blanket through turns 3 and 4, and this is the fight that we've been waiting for about 92 laps in order to see. Honeycutt takes his first lead of the night as they head back down to turn number 1. Roper peaking high, peaking low. No dice, Michael Guerrilla, but that 10 truck, we've been waiting to see if he was going to come alive, and now we're seeing it.
Yeah, Caden Honeycutt is taking advantage of this time, and now you see Derek Justice trying to take a little advantage of a mistake there from Roper in turn 1 and 2. He got a little loose in the center of the corner, and now you can see Derek Justice easily sliding on by Daniel Roper on his inside. So Roper to 3rd, now Justice up to 2nd, now setting the sights on Caden Honeycutt as those two have the long run trucks to do it. So let's just see who can prevail between the two of them as Daniel Roper tries to settle in 3rd place.
And I'm looking at that as we see a battle behind them between Andrew Freenage and
trouble in turn 2 as we see a contact between Freenage as well as Cody Bias make contact.
Yeah, and Hocevar had to make evasive action down to the apron of the racetrack in order to avoid getting collected in that melee. Hocevar was running 7th. It's about a 5-truck hornet's nest. Donovan Strauss, I believe, is now up there in this mix. So it has been very, very chaotic in a hurry. Cody Bias, they're 3 wide. Hocevar's just trying to get settled back in, but where did the 51 of Strauss come from all of a sudden? He was able to pick his way through that, Ryan Kent.
Yeah, Strauss has been able to slowly find his way forward, and he's started 13th up to 9th right now. He's had a fast Toyota Tundra throughout the course of this, and that number 51 machine as he works off of turn number 4 and completes lap number 95. Kind of been one of those guys that you feel like has had some of that speed throughout the course of the night, but throughout the course of the day rather, but just has not been able to have maybe the green flag run he needs or be able to put it all together.
So we sit now 95 complete, 45 laps to go, and it has been an interesting race to say the least. But Caden Honeycutt coming on strong in the second half. He leads it as we work 1 lap truck up to the outside off the exit of turn number 4. That's the 30 of Brandon Hauff, who is about 9 laps down, and that opened the door for a moment for the 19 of Derek Justice to try and take advantage. Justice there as they worked down the back straightaway, had to look outside into turn 1, but had to settle in and think better of it, Taylor Burris. But I feel like we're watching a chess match between these top 3. It's just a matter of where you place your truck, where you time the run, where you find the run right now to go for this top spot.
He is trying every which way he can to make the run work for him as they work their way back into turn number 1. Derek Justice closing in just a little bit slower last time around compared to Caden Honeycutt, but it gets a great run off of turn number 2 to try to get it to less than a truck length between the two drivers. Down the back straightaway they will go. It is only separated by about a 10th, but then a little further back, about 2/10 back, will be about Daniel Roper and then Jake Matheson trying to close in as well, about a second further. But still, we are watching that battle for the race race lead, as Justice is now definitely trying to poke and prod his way to get around Caden Honeycutt as they go back into turn number 1.
It's been fascinating to watch these three duke it out, and I called it a chess match, Michael Guerrilla, but it really is just watching these three ply their craft, and it's all three that we've expected to be up there. In fact, all three drivers that I think we all thought would have been winners already on the road to pro this season, and yet none of them have been in victory lane as of yet. So for Honeycutt, for Justice, for Roper, this could be a breakthrough tonight, and they are going at it at the front of this field.
Indeed it is, and the chess match indeed. I'm just watching to try and see what's separating these guys from one another. As you see, Honeycutt's just a little bit tighter than everyone else is behind them. Justice is entering a little bit lower, getting on that gas a little bit later, trying to hold those tires on. And now you see Roper taking advantage of a little bit of a run he got off turn 2 when he entered really high, got a nice run through the center, and carried that momentum right on by Derek Justice in the center 3 and 4. So Roper set up turn 1 and 2 nicely there, took the run, got the advantage, and now set his sights on Caden Honeycutt.
And that's going to be the big thing, I think, Ryan Kent, is, Honeycutt's hoping these two in Roper and Justice keep going at it for a little bit, enough to keep them off his back tailgate in the battle for the race lead.
Absolutely, as and really Mathis has been able to close down a little bit as well as the top 4 ride within 1 second of each other. As you talked about, your top 3 go about a truck length or so separating those guys as they work their way evenly through turns 3 and 4. But yeah, you really want to have second and third start to play with each other. But tell you what, Daniel Roper has said screw playing with that. I don't share very equally. He's starting to battle and heat up the lead as they work this time off turn number 2 with his battle and is chasing down of Caden Honeycutt.
Oh, peeking for the race lead, looking, down the back straightaway is Roper, has to settle it back in for the moment, and while these three have been going at it, the driver in 4th that has turned up the wick and could make it a 4-horse race at the front of the field, Taylor Burris, is Jake Matheson in the 52, who has come clawing back from more than a second adrift of this battle. He's within about 5 truck lengths of Derek Justice in 3rd.
Slowly but surely clawing his way back up to the top 3, as he was just within the same amount of distance, second fastest out of the top 4 right now in lap time. But we got to go back up to the race lead, as it looks like Daniel Roper will look to the inside of Honeycutt as they come off a turn number 4. But Honeycutt, with the outside advantage, will be able to prevail through there. But Roper doing everything that he can to try to work the inside as they come across the line. But Honeycutt shuts the door on before they go into 1.
He didn't just shut the door, he slammed it across the start-finish line, did Caden Honeycutt, and holding the lead as we cross 37 laps to go. Roper better on the 1 and 2 end, getting the run down the back straightaway. They're side by side for the race lead again in turn 3. Here comes Daniel Roper, Ryan Kent, but yet again, the outside momentum for Caden Honeycutt going to allow him to hold on for now.
Yeah, that outside momentum has been the key so far for Honeycutt, and that's going to allow Derek Justice as the 3rd place runner starts to close his Toyota Tundra into that 2nd spot. Peaks low on Roper as they work through turns number 1 and 2. Roper was 2nd a week last time out at Homestead, Miami, trying to come up 1 spot higher on the podium as he chases your leader, Caden Honeycutt, down the backstretch and in through 3 and 4. Guides as white and blue number 14 right behind that black and white number 10 as they complete lap number 105 here at Atlanta.
The Friends of Jacqueline Chris Kyle Frog Foundation number 10 has done a masterful job at defense, but that may end here. Finally, the run for Roper down into 1 and 2. This is where he's been best. I don't know that Honeycutt going to be able to hang on right at this moment, although he is trying. Down the back straightaway, Honeycutt trying to get the advantage, and how about that, Michael Guerrilla? He does hold on into turn number 3.
Roper is the faster truck, but Honeycutt is putting on a defensive display right now. As you see Roper get the run once again, come off the corner. Honeycutt throws a massive block on the front end of Daniel Roper's machine and as they head off into turn 1. But Roper's just getting that advantage, just trying to stay at the bottom as he's pieced again. Oh, it's really tight in turn 1. Honeycutt squeezing him really hard to that apron, and now Honeycutt's going to get the run off the corner. So really defensive from Honeycutt, but Roper's losing his advantage where he needs it in turn 1 and 2. It's now Justice is firing underneath Roper, but Roper is going to take that spot off into turn 3.
Boy, if Honeycutt, I'll tell you what, if Honeycutt cuts this any closer, there's going to be contact, and Caden Honeycutt diving to pit road. from the race lead with 34 laps to go, and he almost got a trunk full of the 14 of Roper, Michael Guerrilla, and I've got to admit, I'm a little surprised to see them dive off to pit lane like that.
Actually, it's right about that time for the window. They're splitting that run in half from the last caution we had, so this is right about where you want to be for those green flag pit stops, as we had a host of cars last time by with Brian Blackford, Donovan Strauss, Steven Wilson, who was up in the top 5. They were all coming down last time by, so now it's money time here for pit stops as Roper comes on. He comes really hot on the pit road. Be interested to see if he had a penalty there, but yeah, now the pay window's open for pit road.
Michael, in a race like this where we've seen a lot of long green flag runs, if this cycles all the way out, do you want to be the first one to blink, or do you want to wait a lap or two and be later on the button?
If you're close to somebody you're battling, you don't want to be the first one, because you're going to have that one less lap of tires that the other person behind you is going to have on you. So usually you just want to wait and see who plays their cards first and then react a lap later. But it's a tight battle of pit road here as Daniel Roper and Derek Justice came down pit road together, and Roper's going to get the lead off there, and we'll have to see where it cycles out with the 10 machine of Honeycutt as they're coming up on him right through the middle of 1 and 2 now, and Honeycutt should easily get the lead back off of turn 2. So yeah, it's just a matter of read and react for those who are behind.
And that, he's going to extend the lead pretty nicely and bring Jake Matheson to the 2 spot with him. Now it's going to be a case of 31 laps of defense. What can you do if you're Caden Honeycutt to hold on and make this happen? Shout out to Blake McCandless, who leads the party right now and has not yet pitted, trying to run it a little long in the 66. So he actually leads the train in 1 and 2 and is about to have a trunk full of the guys who are going to be leading this race, because they are flying by him like he's basically tied to a post, because McCandless out there on old tires, everybody on fresher tires. That was Carson Hocevar in the 40 that just drove around McCandless to unlap himself. That'll put at least 18 trucks back on the lead lap, and we'll add a few more. Brian Blackford, Will Norton, adding their names to the fray as well. And when this all cycles out, Honeycutt and Matheson are going to have just about a 1 second lead over Daniel Roper and Derek Justice. And I'm not sure, Taylor Burris, if that's a sign of the 1 lap fresher of tires, or if that could be a sign simply of just a little bit slower pit work for Roper and Justice.
It could be a mix of everything, especially how difficult it was to get back on pit road. I mean, we saw Caden Honeycutt. I thought for sure he was going to lose control of that race car, but was able to get it down pit road and time it perfectly. But we'll have to see what will happen, especially towards the long end of the run, like you pointed out, Jacob, and see if those times, as well as the fresh rubber, compared to Matheson as well as Steve Wilson, who are still out on the racetrack trying to see if they can catch up and keep up with Caden Honeycutt.
So, just to check in on this, Michael Guerrilla, there's no way Blake McCandless can make it to make the tires go all the way to the finish from our last caution, but I wouldn't even think he could make it on fuel, no?
No, there's no way he can make it on fuel to the end of this race. He was back in 18th before this pit cycle started, so he's just banking on a caution at this point. He could probably run it out about another 10, 15 more laps or so before he has to come down to pit lane. But McCandless is also just hoping for a caution, along with Freenars, Mahar, who had damage earlier, Bordeaux, Cody Bias. All those guys are just hoping and praying for something to happen here as pit cycles end for now. And those who want to try and stretch it are going to try it.
They're going to try, because at Atlanta, you run 5 green flag laps or more, and you're back on pit road for fresh tires. So it's a calculated gamble, if nothing else, Taylor Burris. But he's also losing a ton of time to the guys who are ultimately going to be leading this race. It is, if it cycles all the way out, it's going to be, I think, a 2-horse race between Honeycutt and Matheson.
It pretty much is if these drivers stay out as much as they are. I mean, they are losing a ton of time right now, even though they're trying to wait for a possible caution. It's going to be even detrimental. Everybody is pretty much back out on the lead lap that is in contention for this race win for the most part, as 24 cars are still back out there on the lead lap. So it's going to be detrimental. If a caution comes out, everybody comes down pit road, they lose any position that they have as well as time that they lost. So they need to start considering coming down pit road here in the next lap or so, just so that way they can see about working their way up through the field right now. But for the most part, we're still watching that battle between the 7 of Caden Honeycutt as he tries to work his way, as he will inherit the lead once those top 4 drivers make their way down pit road. And keeping an eye also on that 29 Jake Matheson, who is all over the back bumper of him and staying right in the tire tracks of the 7 of Caden Honeycutt.
It's been interesting to watch because Derek Justice and Daniel Roper Guerrilla have not been able to really make up the ground that I thought they would be able to, although, that could have something to do with the 5 of Steven Wilson holding them up a little bit. Now we're going to see Justice work to the inside of Wilson. If he can dispose of that 5 truck, perhaps he can start to run the 10 of Honeycutt and the 52 of Matheson back down, but they have struggled with Steven Wilson being in the way there.
Yeah, Wilson took advantage of pitting a lap earlier, and he was already up in that top 5, so just trying to get an extra little bit of track position, trying to undercut those front 3, and it's worked out for the most part. He gained a spot since the pit cycle started, but now he's fallen back to 4th behind Justice. But yeah, basically with Justice and Roper, it's the difference between the tires isn't going to happen now just because everyone's running the same pace. There may be hundredths or so, but where these tires are going to matter towards the end of the run, where everyone's already used their stuff up, and now you can see who has the better tires out through the field. I think that's what Daniel Roper is trying to do right here. I think he's trying to back up just a little bit, knows he has the tire advantage. He's running a little bit slower than our front 4, and he's going to try and take advantage of those tires here late, as he did in the last run, as he was all over Caden Honeycutt. As he showed, he had the quick truck. So it'll come down to what their strategy is. Roper's trying to play it nice and calm, and Caden Honeycutt's just trying to keep it out front.
He's doing a masterful job. This is 13.4 seconds behind the race leader, Blake McCandless, who Andrew Freenage, Derek Bordeaux, and Brad Mahar have yet to pit with 21 laps to go when they come back to the stripe. So still a lot left to play out. However, Taylor Burris, the gap between Honeycutt and Matheson is starting to close just a little bit. And they know if this cycles all the way out, that is going to be the effective battle for the race win.
It is, and don't forget Derek Justice, who's actually caught up to the back bumper of Jake Matheson right now as they work their way through turn 3 and 4, going underneath the lap truck of Seth DeMerchant as they're working their way. So here comes now Derek Justice with a big move to the outside, now crosses over to the inside as they go into turn number 1. Side by side they will go and see, will Justice be able to complete the pass? No, he will not just yet. Matheson trying to pinch him down to the bottom of the racetrack as they work their way down the back straightaway here, but Justice is trying everything that he can to push that truck. He will try and make it work as they come off of turn number 4, and yes, move him up right behind now Caden Honeycutt. And now these two will do battle for that provisional race lead once the top 4 comes down pit road, which I believe now
Brad Mahar just pitted. So Mahar in the 8 was who just came down pit road. It leaves McCandless, Freenage, and Bordeaux. And here's the battle we're all watching, because if it stays green, this is the battle for the lead. Here comes Justice to the inside of Caden Honeycutt, battling for 4th on the racetrack, but it's the battle for the race lead in effect. Justice with the big move. Honeycutt could not pinch him down. They go side by side through the quad oval. Ryan Kent and Honeycutt trying to make it happen on the outside. Justice ready to deny him.
Honeycutt is trying to stay as close to the bottom as he can, trying to just stay right as close as he can, maybe side draft down the back straightaway. Justice able to pull out in front and gain about half a truck length. His lead into turn number 3 and 4 as he starts to pull away, puts 2 truck lengths back on Jake Matheson and Caden Honeycutt as his lead here on lap number 123.
So that moves Justice to 3rd on 123 of 140. 17 to go. Blake McCandless still has not pitted and leads by 6 seconds over Derek Bordeaux, who is the truck directly ahead of the Justice, Honeycutt, Matheson trio. And Daniel Roper has no traffic between himself and those ahead of him either, as Honeycutt tries to block Matheson for a little bit. And now the question's going to be, can Honeycutt regroup here, Michael Guerrilla? Can he come back, or is Justice just that much better at this point?
I really think that Justice is just that much better. Those tires are starting to kick in for him as he was one of the ones who pitted a lap later than Honeycutt, and you just see Honeycutt's just starting to struggle. He's what we call push loose, so he's very tight entry and very loose exit, and he just can't really hold on to that truck right now and keep it pinned to the bottom. As now you see, because he slid up off of turn 2, Jake Matheson is now trying to take advantage of that on the inside of turn 3, but Matheson just a little bit too tight there to make the move work. Honeycutt still defended pretty strong there. So now it's going to be an interesting battle to see if Justice will maintain that spot, or if Honeycutt or even Roper is going to come back in his battle. As now Roper is the fastest truck of the top 4.
It's interesting, isn't it? Just seeing how it's settling out here at the end, and they have finally seen everything cycle out. Blake McCandless pitting, coming to 15 laps to go, and that puts Derek Justice free and clear at the front of the lead pack off turn 4. 14 to go. Here comes Roper to the inside of Matheson in the battle for 3rd place now. Roper dives deep into turn number 1. Taylor Burris makes that pass look easy, and now could it be a Roper versus Justice fight to the finish?
Time will tell as he is running down 2nd place Caden Honeycutt as they go down into turn 3 and 4. But don't count out Jake Matheson, who's still staying tight to the back bumper of that 14 of Daniel Roper as they come off of turn number 4. Still going to be nose to tail as the top 4 is pretty much in a race for its own right now, as Justice is pulling away. Last time by, looking at the lap times, it is still going to be Daniel Roper with the fastest lap time with a 31.783, while Derek Justice was about a 10th slower. So Roper is slowly but surely reeling him in, but we are closing in on almost 10 laps to go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Are there enough laps left, Michael, where this could even out to where you may see somebody like Honeycutt be able to come back on Justice, or is that lap that he pitted sooner really going to make that much of a difference at the end?
I think it's a combination of things for Honeycutt. The last run we saw him struggle about the same as what he's at right now, and now he has worse tires than those who he's battling right now with Roper and Justice out front. But Honeycutt just looks like he's just really tight, and it looks like he just can't keep that truck pinned to the bottom. So that's what his main issue is, rather than the tire wear. And it looks as though that Roper's saving is just that much better. I mean, you see him right here. He's coming off a turn 4 to peek down the inside of Caden Honeycutt, who tries to defend there. And now you got Matheson, who's taking advantage of Roper as well. But yeah, it's just Roper saved those tires maybe a little bit too long now.
Oh, McCandless. That's Blake McCandless who picked his way to the inside on fresher tires. He actually fell a lap down and is trying to make some tracks back forward. That really got everything messed up. Side by side, though, the battle for 2nd. Here comes Daniel Roper to the inside. He may bring Matheson with him as they work off turn number 4. Caden Honeycutt really starting to fall back now. Almost tags the wall. He just can't keep it down there. Oh, Matheson gets sideways, and Ryan Doucette's in this mix in 1.
4 cars underneath the blanket as they go through turns 1 and 2 right now, as we see Ryan Doucette all over, just side drafting, as we see Roper shut the door, slam the door on Caden Honeycutt as they go down the back straightaway. And now Honeycutt will try everything to try to get to the bottom of the racetrack, but it's not working as Ryan Doucette is utilizing the outside lane to get around Jake Matheson.
The problem here is if you're these guys 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, here comes Doucette to the inside of Honeycutt for 3rd. All the while, Derek Justice has opened up, Brian Kent, 8 truck lengths over this scramble for P2.
Yeah, Derek Justice is looking in his rearview mirror, and Roper, Honeycutt, Doucette company are starting to get a little bit slower here as he works inside. 10 laps to go. His pink and black Baskin Robbins number 19 guides its way with that Toyota Tundra to the bottom of 3 and 4. He's going to see 7 laps to go this time by.
They cross the stripe, 8 laps to go, 132 complete of 140. So, and we see Andrew Freenage, Michael Guerrilla, working the outside lane, not trying to do what McCandless did. He's using the other lane of the racetrack as there's contact. Contact between Roper and I think that was Honeycutt. Honeycutt to the inside as this scramble. How about Ryan Doucette all the way to the runner-up position now?
Oh, yeah. Almost had 4 wide as well as Steve Wilson got into the mix of it as well. So close battles indeed, but Ryan Doucette, a great run for him tonight.
I'll go back to Michael Guerrilla. I think we are really seeing the convergence of strategies, or maybe the divergence would be a better word for it, because we're seeing some guys that I don't think we expected to be talking about among this top 3 or 4 at the end of the race.
Yeah, where in the world did Ryan Doucette come from? I feel like we've been talking about these top 5 with Justice, Roper, Matheson, and Honeycutt for the past 100 laps or so, and now Doucette out of nowhere is starting to chase down Derek Justice. Last time by, lap time wise, Ryan Doucette ran a 31.978 to a Derek Justice 32.113, and now Justice is going to have a little bit of a compromised exit there with Drew Freenage going around his outside, so it's about a 10-12 truck length gap between the two of them. Let's see if Doucette can close it up here in the closing laps.
You know what they say about those fantastic Atlanta finishes, and we might be in the market for another one here from Ryan Doucette. He has closed the margin. 5 laps to go, a 10th a lap faster at this rate. Ryan Kent, he'll get there at the white flag. Back straightaway they come, and Doucette continues to close in Taylor Burris. It's 4 truck lengths now. Doucette's got the advantage.
Doucette does have the advantage as they come off a turn. Right now comes Derek Justice trying to hold on to the race, but it might be not enough for him to hold back a hard-charging Ryan Doucette. They have checked out on the rest of the field by over 1.3 seconds now. So these two, it's a 2-horse race for the race win here as they come off of turn 2 down the back straightaway. We are going to be 3 laps to go.
Can Ryan Doucette get there? That's the question, Ryan Kent Jr. Into turn number 3. He is trying to close in. It's been a 10th a lap. Like we said, at that pace, he'll get there by the white flag, but he has got to eat into the gap right now.
He continues to make that hard charge. It's down to about 6 truck lengths. Now 5 as they guide their way into turns number 1 and 2. That lap truck of Freenage really killed the momentum of Derek Justice. It's down to 4 truck lengths this time off of turn number 2. 3/10 of a second as they snake their way down the back straightaway. Ryan Doucette points his Chevy Silverado back to the top side. Now to the apex of turn 3 and 4. Back to you, Jacob.
It was a strategic call that handed Ryan Doucette a win at Rockingham 2 races ago. He may have parlayed another strategic call into a shot at a win tonight. It's down to a quarter second. 2 laps of racing to go. Taylor Burris in 1 and 2.
2 laps to go. 2 opportunities for we see Ryan Doucette to try and catch up to Derek Justice and try and make the pass. A little further back, we also have side by side for 3rd and 5th position. Almost close contact as well as we watch those battles as well. But they come around off of turn number 4. Derek Justice has just 1 lap to go.
Ryan Kent, if he's got a shot, it's got to be now. Headed back to 1 for the final time.
Ryan Doucette about 2 truck lengths back, 0.2 of a second. If he's going to make a move, it has to come here quickly as they work towards the white flag and down the back straightaway.
Off turn 2 for the final time. Here they come. Ryan Doucette, does he have a dive into turn 3? No, there's a lap truck in the way. He's got to go to the outside. Now he settles it down around the white line, but he's going to come up, I believe, 1 lap short. Justice washes wide. Doucette looks low at the line. Derek Justice wins at Atlanta Motor Speedway over Ryan Doucette in round number 4 of the eNASCAR iRacing Road to Pro in a thriller of a finish. And like Michael Guerrilla said, where did Ryan Doucette come from to have a shot on those final couple of corners? Doucette second, and a scramble from 3rd on back goes Daniel Roper's way. Jake Matheson and Caden Honeycutt, the top 5. But how about this? Derek Justice gets his dessert, or he has his dessert, and he'll get to eat it too for the Baskin-Robbins Toyota Tundra, because he's about to burn it down on the front straightaway. A love tap from Caden Honeycutt after they had their late race battle. Michael Guerrilla, I don't think we could have asked for much more than that.
Yeah, that was really close to all those Atlanta finishes that we were talking about, but Doucette was just 1 lap too short there on Derek Justice. But what a run from him. Both of Derek Justice and Ryan Doucette from the mid-pack up to the top 2, holding off Dana Roper, Matheson, Honeycutt, and Steven Wilson there at the end. It was pretty tight battle there, but obviously Doucette out of nowhere just tried to make it run and just came up just a little short.
He's burning it down now, and what a job the driver of the number 19 did to hold on, make it happen. And what we're going to do is, while Derek Justice celebrates, we're going to step aside, take a commercial break here on Podium Esports, and when we come back, we'll try and catch up with some of your top finishers from the Atlanta Motor Speedway, as I believe Derek Justice may have just toasted that number 19. So we'll try to be back with more coverage of the eNASCAR iRacing Road to Pro from Atlanta Motor Speedway right after this Derek Justice, tonight's race winner.
Coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson. Unbelievable finish. It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Aloma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett Lowe. 4 wide at the stripe. For all he's worth here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron. Drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
Welcome back to post-race coverage of the eNASCAR iRacing Road to Pro from Atlanta Motor Speedway, where we just about had a last lap thriller here in round number 4. Derek Justice coming out of a narrow battle with Ryan Doucette. Daniel Roper completing the podium, as we'll bring you the iRacing full field rundown here tonight from the Hampton, Georgia mile and a half. Justice, Doucette, and Roper in that order. Jake Matheson in 4th, and Caden Honeycutt, who led so much of the middle portions of this race, fades back to 5th at the checkered flag. Stephen Wilson 6th. Alan Bowes, I don't think we called his name more than maybe once during the midway race break all night long, but he claws his way all the way up to 7th at the finish. Dylan Jones, Donovan Strauss, and Will Norton, Taylor Burris round out the top 10.
Coming home in 11th is going to be Brian Blackford, followed by Braden Boulos in 12th position. Carson Hocevar started 5th, but finished up in 13th position, with Dylan Rafferty coming home in 14th. 15th goes to Marcus Ruckman, with 16th Garrett Main. 17th, a nice run up through the rankings. Blake Neer started 33rd, got up to 7th, and then someone who had a rough night, Jacob Hall, our pole sitter, comes home 18th. 19th goes to Devin Curl, and rounding out your top 20 is Jarrett Libier.
21st tonight goes to Brandon McKissick, Trayton Lapsovich 22nd. 23rd to Blake McCandless after trying to pull the run long at the end of the race. He gets back on the lead lap but ends up 23rd. Andrew Freenage 24th after running among the top 5 early on. The last truck on the lead lap. Derek Bordeaux a lap down in 25th along with Brad Mahar and Cody Bias, who faded back late. An unfortunate turn of events for driver 15. Brandon Houff 10 laps down, and I believe the last truck running in 28th, 29th to Daniel Williamson, 30th to Seth the Merchant, 31st Patrick Mallet, 32nd Nick Morse after the early crash. He looked like he was going to be a contender tonight, and Ryan Kuhn completing the field in 33rd. As we get set to roll into our podium interviews, we are going to start with tonight's third place finisher, who had a front row seat to everything that shook down on the final lap. We are going to throw it trackside, where Ryan Kent is going to chat with Daniel Roper.
Daniel Roper, you're Daniel Roper, you're able to come home in that third spot. Certainly a battle. You were able to compete most of the afternoon inside that top 5. Tell us about your run today.
Yeah, it was a pretty good run overall. HPM keeps bringing really great trucks to the racetrack every weekend. We're working really hard over here. I think this is the 3rd week in a row. I think we've honestly had the best truck. Maybe a little bit of work to do on the pit strategy that can get us these wins, but it's a really great feeling to be able to show up every week and know you're going to have the really good long run truck, short run truck, and just feeling good to run up front here after the little bit of misfortune we had the first couple weeks.
Yeah, you talked about a little bit of misfortune there early. You come back and run second there last week. 3rd place this week certainly has to feel good to be up on the podium spots and be consistent, especially on these mile and a halves.
Yeah, it's definitely what we needed after not getting a fuel glitch at Daytona and then me crashing myself out at Rockingham after dominating that one. So just trying to put together consistent finishes here and hopefully just keep moving up the points.
A great-looking number 14 truck for you. Who makes you and your Chevy Silverado go around?
Gotta thank Luis, Jaws Designs, man. Guy does a great job. I'm a little finicky. I like to run a different paint scheme every week, as I'm sure you guys have noticed, but does a great job getting me what I want on the car. I got Autism Speaks on the car, autism awareness, raising awareness for that this month. Happy to have them on here. And hey, it was just a good race overall for us.
Well, Daniel Roper, we appreciate the time. Fantastic job. Your 3rd place finisher today in Daniel Roper.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the broadcast.
We're going to shift from 3rd place in Daniel Roper to the runner-up in Ryan Doucette and toss it back trackside, where Taylor Burris is going to chat with Doucette, who I believe was in the catbird seat. And Taylor, I imagine he may tell you just 1 lap short.
He is here with Ryan Doucette. And Ryan, where did you come from? I mean, we were wondering most of the race you were towards the back half of the top 10, but here you come in the final few laps to come home P2. Tell us about that run.
Yeah, that was a crazy race. First off, I can't thank the guys at Nexus Esports enough for all the effort they give into me. They give into these setups every week. It's crazy how much time we work on these. But yeah, it choked qualifying big time all the way back in 20th. And by the time we get off pit road on that first caution, I was already up to 5th. So that truck was just a beast on long runs.
Well, with that, we are getting ready to go in a couple of weeks' time to Charlotte Motor Speedway with the Roval. What is your thoughts going into that race?
I mean, hopefully we can keep the momentum up from these first 4 races. If you guys told me that I was going to get top 3 in the first 3 out of the first 4 Road Pro races, I'd tell you we're crazy. But somehow we're here. I don't know about the Roval, though. Road courses are not my strong suit, so that may end up being a drought week.
Well, Ryan, before we let you go, any people you would like to give a shout out to who helps you race for the week?
Definitely Viper Graphics out of Seekonk, Massachusetts. They're a big supporter of ours. My real life crew, my spotter Ryan McLean. Like I said, all the guys at Nexus. You guys for broadcasting these Road to Pro races. And I think that's about it. And good win to Derek.
Couple more things right quick. Did you make a certain strategy move during those final pit stops in order to try to get that run, or was it just a normal call that you had?
I mean, usually I like to pit. If a guy's pitting right in front of me, I like to pit a lap later. But I don't know. I just made, on a whim, a call to pit 2 laps after everybody, and those 2 laps made a world of a difference for some reason.
Yes, indeed it did. Ryan Doucette coming home P2, and our very own Jacob Seelman has caught up with our race winner, Derek Justice.
Well, a thriller it was, and I think, Derek Justice, the thing that sticks out to me after we just talked to Ryan Doucette, if that race is 1 lap longer, I don't think we're sitting here chatting, because I don't think you end up winning that race in that case.
I don't think it was. Believe it or not, I didn't realize it was Ryan Doucette behind me. I thought it was Daniel because I saw him let me go with like 20 to go. I'm thinking, oh, he's going to save a little bit and catch up. I have no idea that was even Ryan Doucette behind me. I was just focusing forward, don't look at the mirror, and hit your marks.
I know it was a game of leapfrog, and you had a lap fresher tires than Honeycutt, but that really was the fiercest battle in the closing stages of that race. Caden was playing as good a defense as anybody, and it was a lot of patience, it looked like, on your end to not jeopardize or risk taking both of you out, but still make the pass there going into 3 when you did.
Yeah, I mean, I take a lot of pride being the cleanest driver out there, make clean passes, don't do anything obnoxious. It's just, if I wreck somebody, like, I feel like I'm more mad at myself than a person that I wrecked, than a person be mad at me. So I take a lot of pride in that. It's just, this setup just turned so good in the center. And I'm thinking, if I get a nose underneath him, I think I'm sitting pretty. And like I said, then apparently Ryan was coming, and I saw the gap closing that thing, and just got to hit your marks, one at a time.
You have been solid and you have had speed in the first 3 rounds, but have not had the luck. How big tonight is a win at this juncture of the season to hopefully propel you forward into the next couple of races?
Atlanta, me winning in Atlanta, the highest SOF ever. I'm still dreaming right now. Like last year when I came here, I was on the same setup with a bunch of other guys, and they were pulling away from the field, and I just couldn't figure it out. So a lot of hard work. I put in probably over 2,000 laps in the past 10 days, and people don't realize how much work has to be put into stay consistent and stuff. So it's a lot of pressure.
It's pressure that was rewarded tonight in a very, very big way. We look ahead to the Roval, and I know how big a variable that's going to be for everybody in this Road to Pro field. Is that going to be as much as survival as it is about having a fast truck?
Well, the Roval is a different animal. People are going to stand out on who's really good at road courses. Me, on the other hand, I probably won't stand out here in 2 weeks, but we're going, practice hard and see what we can do. But well, you never know. So Roval, it's a different animal for sure.
Before we let you go, Derek, always one of the coolest trucks from a paint scheme perspective, but I know it's not possible without a lot of people behind you. Shout outs, thank yous, who makes it happen for you and your crew?
I just want to give a big old shout out to North Force Racing for believing in me. I got, like I said, the first 2 weeks of Road to Pro season, I was an independent driver, and a team that's not well known to believe in me and put a lot of hard work. And it's just unbelievable how much work. The setup, the guys are so, it's drama free. Everybody's so cool and collective. And also want to give a big shout out to Splash and Go Graphics for the awesome paint scheme that you all mentioned. And also, of course, My two new sponsors, another new sponsor, Buck Kicker, they're on board, and of course Baskin Robbins and Toyota. So.
Cosman, one of the best when it comes to designing a pretty slick paint scheme, as we've seen, takes care of you and several others in this top splitter road to pro. Derek, congratulations. It's great not just to see you back on a podium post-race show, but in victory lane for a race like this. You mentioned it, highest SOF in the history of road to pro, and I know a big deal, one that'll stick with you for a long time.
Thank you so much, Jacob.
Derek Justice comes away as the race winner on a historic night, Taylor Burris, and boy, this race really did have everything you could ask. After we went caution-free at Homestead, Miami, one race ago, to come back, yes, we had the yellows, but we also had some very healthy green flag runs, and we had an absolute dogfight to the checkered flag between about 5 of the best in the business. I mean, this race, like I said, it had it all tonight.
It most certainly did. A lot of heavy hitters took to the friendly. I mean, I lost count of how many lead changes we had. It was so competitive amongst the top 5. And then, of course, Ryan Doucette coming out of nowhere towards the back half of the field to come up and finish second. So if this season has been phenomenal with a lot of great racing. And what's amazing is we still have a lot more racing left to go here in the Road to Pro Series.
Ryan Kent, you've been involved now for the last 2 of these Road to Pro broadcasts, and we've really started to see this top split take shape. It's looking like Ryan Doucette's going to take over the points lead by exactly how much? We're not 100% sure. We're waiting for the final numbers on that. But a big statement out of the driver who comes from 20th to 2nd and just misses out on his 2nd win of the season tonight.
Yeah, I tell you what, Doucette has had some fantastic runs over the course of the last couple weeks. You talked about when I first joined you guys at Homestead last week, he started in 14th and runs in 3rd. This week starts in 20th and gets all the way back up to 2nd. So he certainly had an absolute ton of speed, but it's just been maybe qualifying just a little bit better will be his focus. As the Roval is not necessarily maybe a great indicator of that, but as they move on later on in the schedule as well.
Michael Guerrilla, I know as a driver, you alternate Tuesday nights with being in the booth with us and being on the racetrack with Jim Beaver Esports. But as a fan and somebody who I know loves to jump up here when you can, I don't know how anybody that was watching that race tonight wasn't entertained.
Yeah, it was definitely a solid race. Through and through, you had different battles throughout the field. You had a little bit of incidents here and there. You had a great tight battles up towards the front. There's not really much more you could ask for a race like this. The guys put on a great show tonight, especially with that mix at the end there. Would have loved to have seen if what Doucette could have done if he did get the justice, but overall, just a fun old race right there and just a good night of action.
And as we get set to tie up tonight's broadcast, we're going to remind you that, as mentioned, in 2 weeks, when we come back on Tuesday, May the 5th, the eNASCAR iRacing Road to Pro will be at the Roval at Charlotte Motor Speedway, one of the most diverse and interesting racetracks they'll visit on the schedule before we head to Michigan, Richmond, Darlington, and on down the line. However, we definitely have still a lot of action coming up on Podium Esports and throughout the iRacing universe over the next couple of days. Of course, Wednesday night on Podium Esports, the ERL Premier Series in action, 7:40 p.m. Eastern, as well as on Fridays, you can catch PCA Sim Racing. And actually, this coming Friday, Taylor Burris, the PCA Sim Racing Series 4 will see its season finale on the iRacing Esports Network. I know we're all looking forward to that.
Of course, we're looking forward to some great racing action at Road America, the season finale for the PCA, and a little bit more of PCA action also still to come over the weekend on Sunday. So stay tuned on the Podium Esports Network.
And I should slide in between that on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. We are going trucking, and I know there are a lot of people that are very, very excited about that here on Podium Esports. Got the chance to announce that earlier today, but courtesy of Jordan Anderson, Austin Self, Tim Self, and a bunch of great folks working on this, the Icebox Pickup Throwdown iRacing Truck Series coming to Podium Esports, as well as Eric Estep's YouTube channel Thursday nights for the next 5 weeks at 8 p.m. Eastern, and that is going to be a tremendous amount of fun. I'll be back on the call for that series starting next Thursday night, and we're crossing our fingers that we may be able to get a special guest for that broadcast as well. Stay tuned for more information. Of course, Saturday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Eastern on NBCSN. It's the iRacing IndyCar Challenge heading to Circuit of the Americas for round 5 of that season, and then Sunday, 1 p.m. on Fox FS1 on the Fox Sports app. It is the eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series from the biggest, baddest track of all, Talladega Super Speedway, where we'll see if William Byron can go 3 in a row or mayhem and mass confusion will lead to another different winner 4 in 5 races. We'll have to find out, and we hope you'll tune in to FS1, or if it's in your local market, to Big Fox on Sunday for the Pro Invitational on the eNASCAR side. Right now, however, it is time for us to wrap things up from the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway on this edition of the eNASCAR iRacing Road to Pro. So for Gary Sexton, John Theodore, Cisco Scaramouza at Podium Esports, for our producer Ryan Bauer, and for my partners in the booth tonight, Michael Guerrilla, Ryan Kent Jr., and Taylor Burris, I'm Jacob Seelman. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast, and stick around. We are going to toss the raid over to our good friend who just finished up in his split of Road to Pro, David Schildhouse, for a little bit more fun this evening. But congratulations one more time to Derek Justice on a win tonight in Hot Atlanta. We'll see you back in 2 weeks on the Road to Pro from the Roval. Till we meet again.